Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today's Thursday. It is August the 20th. Thanks for joining me. I've got kind of a heavy show in front of us, I think. We're going to be talking about national debt. Congratulations, America. You did it. You finally did it. We have made it to $40 trillion with a T, $40 trillion in the national debt. And that just quietly went by yesterday. Just a little blip on the radar for some people. Most people didn't even pay attention or notice it. But the national debt counter crossed over an incredibly high number. And when I was born, it was less than 1 trillion. So in my 44 and change years on this planet, we've managed to accrue about $1 trillion in debt on average per year. But that's not actually accurate when you get right down to it, because we were less than $20 trillion in debt when Donald Trump took office. So consider that. In the 4 years of Donald Trump, the next 2 years, and the 4 years of Joe Biden, we've doubled our national debt in a decade. It took us 250 years to get here, but the majority of it has been done in the last 15 years. And if you guys go back to the time capsule that I like to read every once in a while, just to remind myself, in 1997, there was an argument about whether or not we would cross $10 trillion in debt after the year 2000. So 30 have been done in the last 26 years. Pretty incredible pace. I think we're in bad shape there. And we're in bad shape, just not financially, but that actually is sort of I think a microcosm for some of the mentality that we have in this country of not looking to the next generations and saying, you're valued, what's going to happen for you is critically important, and we are going to make decisions that will benefit you long term. No, in fact, we're doing exactly the opposite. We are saying what benefits us today, let's get short-term gain, and we're going to give it long-term pain. The exact opposite of what we heard was going to happen in the Iran war. So I've got a list of little topics. I rarely do this. I almost never do this. I gave myself some notes that I wanted to remind myself about. Abortion is one of the things in this country that has changed in my lifetime when it comes to acceptance and the prominence of it. And when you're willing to do the short-term convenience of killing a living person for the long-term convenience of not having to deal with them being alive, you've really changed your culture in a dramatic way. We did the same thing with divorce. And right now, that's in kind of a poignant relief right now in the conversations that my wife and I are having, because there's this TikTok trend of women talking about a woman named Lindsay Clancy who admittedly killed her children, 3 of them, 5, I think, like 2, something like that, and maybe like an 8-month-old. Absolutely horrific. Strangled them to death. But if we're going to be a society that is fine with abortion up to the point of birth, killing born children that are a couple of years old, infanticide, it's really not that much of a further step. And we didn't just go from saying that it was allowed, safe, legal, and rare in my lifetime. We've gone from safe, legal, and rare to it's okay to shout and celebrate the killing of your children. So no wonder young women are losing their ever-loving minds. They've normalized something that's so evil and so out of sync with all of human existence that sacrificing their living children doesn't even seem strange. There's a story about Natalie Harp. It's back in the news again. It was up for the last couple of days. It was debates on CNN, questions of whether she jumped into the trunk. She's the executive aide that basically has devoted her life at 42 years old, 34 years old to Donald Trump. Apparently she was working without a security clearance. That's a major problem. But I think that goes to the cultural problem that we have a 34-year-old woman who is in her, let's call it tail end of reproductive time. And she's dedicated herself to a man who's 80 plus years old. Power, money, status, career, and not the most important things that we can do. And anybody who has a family knows this. The Iran war is yet another thing in there. And then lastly, Donald Trump is making his legacy by signing pieces of granite that are going to be helipads for future presidents to land on. So there's a whole bunch of things in here, and I want to cover a lot of those, but I think all of them have this sort of one common thread through them, which is that currently we have prioritized today, now, convenience in so many ways across our culture, and we have decided to ignore the future. And I think that this generation, while I'm alive, and that includes my parents' generation and my generation, and probably those younger than us as well, for the first time, are not looking down the line, not as a society. It doesn't mean you individually. It doesn't mean me individually. I obviously care about that, and many of you will as well. But for the first time, I think as a society, we really got a watermark moment where we have turned away from what is going to be the best thing for our children, for our posterity. Do we even care about this legacy? And it doesn't seem like we do, which is a really dark place to be, unfortunately. But it's a real place. All right. Speaking of protecting things for posterity, you might want to protect your identity. You might want to protect your money. We're going to go ahead and just do a quick sponsor read for our folks over at Patriot Protect. Our good friends over there. Patriot-Protect.com is the website. Patriot-Protect.com/Kyle will get you 15% off. Make sure you guys have my name at checkout. There are hundreds of data broker companies. We've been talking about them here for months now. They publish your name and your family member's name and your address and your phone number. They can put you in physical danger if they're creepers and stalkers. They can also put you in financial danger if they are scammers, cyber thieves, and so on. Everything can be out there. Your maiden name, your mother's maiden name, old addresses, tax returns, etc., like that, email addresses. It's all sitting out there unless you do something to take it down. Oftentimes, these things get hacked from different companies that are doing a crappy job of maintaining their security, and then they put you in the crosshairs. I actually watched one of these terrible shows the other day. It was called, this is called Taken. It's this show that's on Amazon Prime. It's just a fantasy world about CIA guy. The backstory from the movie Taken. It's really not well done, but it's completely mindless. And one of the bits that they did, one of their storylines was that somebody hacked a bunch of medical information and then used that medical information to find people who would be good organ donors for super wealthy people. And then they went and kidnapped the potential organ donors and then killed them to take their organs. I don't think we're in that situation just yet. I don't think there's like a dirty red market out there, at least not through the stuff that Patriot Protect is taking down. But it does remind you that all these records are out there and they get hacked all the time. They get leaked on the dark web and then they end up being out there in the Googleable searches, Facebook, etc. Patriot Protect takes this stuff down. That's the way that they work. It takes a couple of weeks for things to start slowing down on the robocalls, but you end up getting less scammers, less robocalls, less dials in trying to scam you out of your cash and everything else, and it costs you a couple bucks a month. So look into them if you haven't done so already. Patriot-Protect.com/KYLE. There is a link in today's show description. As usual, all you got to do is expand out the show notes, and you can click on any of our sponsors. Very easy to do. Do something to make sure that you guys are not exposing yourself to the weirdos out there. When you realize how bad things can be, some of the values that people have, it's like they'd rather work hard to scam you, as I was discussing with the fraud alert people at Chase the other day. They'd rather work hard to scam you than just do honest labor. I think that actually fits in line with today's show as well. So we're going to get into all that. We're going to get started right about now. It's kind of radicalizing, to be fair, to think that people would rather spend all of their time to steal from you rather than do something honest, like put their hard work in and do something of value. I found a Netflix charge on my credit card statement completely out of nowhere. I have no idea what happened. I think it was actually a Netflix issue, but we'll find out at some point. It was $29, so it wasn't a major deal. And I had to end up canceling my credit cards. You guys have probably all done that. It's awful, not fun thing to do. And yet this guy and I were just kind of reveling on what a stupid moment where somebody will scam you out of $29. And it can't be that easy. Anyhow, I guess I was due for new credit cards. All right, so this attitude of people who are willing to run scams, who are willing to not do long-term work, who are willing to do long-term pain for the short-term gain. And again, this list I have on here of national debt and abortion and Lindsay Clancy and the trial that's going on there, that's a local crime story as far as I'm concerned. It has national interest only in so much as the meta interest that there are a bunch of women who are saying, our life is so hard, we're raising children, like women have for all of human history. I really get disgusted by this. There's a lack of stoicism in American culture right now. And that's not to say that being a mom is not hard. I think it's actually very hard. It's harder than something I can do, but I'm not built to be a mom. So as someone who's, walked my wife through 4 postpartum experiences, all of which had hormonal dips, all of which had probably awful thoughts and despair. That's one of your jobs as a spouse, as a husband, is to be there and recognize that there's something going on with your wife and knowing when she needs a moment, when she needs to step away. Like, yeah, life's hard. Nobody cares. So get over it and then get your ass moving. Like this has been always sort of the attitude that human beings have been. It's like, it's incredibly difficult. Step up. Nobody's coming to save you. So why do you think that you're different than anybody else? Why do you think that filming a TikTok and throwing ice at your wall or screaming or crying at a toilet with a camera filming you for some sort of, it's really disgusting to watch. And it's narcissistic and it's vanity. So all of these things kind of end up being part of the cultural values that we put in there. It's like, well, it's really important that we feel for these people. Some lady was stalking my comments. I put a couple of videos up. I've been making fun of these because they look ridiculous to me. And so I'm trying to have a lighthearted approach. This is the new Nancy Mace, whatever else. Because Nancy Mace apparently has at 47 years old decided to get sleeve tattoos. Yet another cry for help and attention. A woman who claims to be the victim of sexual assault and then lays around in sexually provocative positions as a congresswoman. Like this kind of stuff. This sort of look at me attitude. It's pretty nasty. A bunch of women filming themselves raging about nonsense. My only hope is hopefully their husband gets home and takes their phones from them and shuts them off. Like hopefully the internet stops. I'm going to share another moment that I had yesterday, which is kind of funny and sad at the same time. Ran into an active duty Army guy at the pool with my kids. And he just seemed like a regular guy. So like nothing exceptional. He's just a dude. I assume he was in his 30s, maybe his early 30s. And he's there with his, 3 kids. I think mom had an infant, and then they had a 2 or 3 year old little boy that was playing, and then they had a 4 or 5 year old little girl that was playing with my kids. And so that's all good. And he and I are just BSing about military stuff. We're talking about things that we've done and places. And he was a drill instructor most recently, and he was just stepping out of that role and going back into his old role. He was an 11 Bravo, so he's an infantryman. And he was telling me about the people that were coming, and he said the young kids are dumb, like shockingly dumb, no common sense, dumb. And anybody who's been around Joe, which is our friendly name for men who serve, for guys who serve in the Army, Joe does dumb things occasionally. No big deal. That's not really the problem. But there is a problem that when Joe is 47 and shows up and is weak and frail and incapable. And so he was telling me that he had this oldest trainee coming through as a new, as a recruit in basic training. And the guy's 47 years old. And basically every single day he's broken and he's at sick call. And while we're bullshitting about it, he's like, you ever think about going back in? And I go, no, I don't think so. Like I serve in the civilian side. I serve in the military side. I think I'm done with the government right now. He doesn't know my whole backstory. It's not really relevant to him anyway. Right. And he goes, well, something about how old are you? And I said, well, I'm 44. I'm almost 45. And if I were to go back to basic training, I'd be fine. Like I'm physically fit. And he was like, whoa, dude, you don't look 45. That's on purpose. And the reason that I am I think I look 45, but I look around at some men that are my age and they're destroyed. The reason that I am not physically destroyed and that I'm able to be functional and I have a 3-year-old, part of it is because I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. I'm raising children, so I don't have a choice to just fall apart. It's not an option for me. And the other reason is because nobody cares. There's no one that's going to come and save me. I already know that. Many of you know that as well. You experienced it when COVID came and took your jobs. You had an opportunity to just fall down and die or not. And you didn't. And that's a common experience. This is not something that is exceptional. You don't get a medal for it. Nobody gives you an award and says, great job, you did it. Nobody cares, and nobody's coming to save you. So figure it out. And we have an entire society right now that has decided to coddle and to shelter from responsibility regular life experience that every single person has experienced for all of human history. Having babies is tough. Raising babies is difficult. Awful things happen. And we're talking about people that have some of the softest, most, if we're being historical, our lives right now are easier than they've ever been in human history. Even with all the difficulty, we sit here. I have a whole podcast that tells you about the things that we're doing in this country that sucks. There's a lot of things that suck. Our debt is $40 trillion. That's like an inconceivable amount of money. We have spent more money than has ever existed, and we owe it. We're now at over $1 trillion in just interest a year. It's going to surpass, the interest on our debt is going to surpass our single biggest outlay of cash, which is, like Social Security and some of the other entitlement programs. And yet, it's the easiest time to be alive ever. Just by the standards of it. The poorest people in the United States live at standards that are higher than kings did for most of human history. And when you put that in perspective, then maybe you just don't stand there and throw ice at your very nice floors in your indoor plumbing. My wife gives thanks and reminds our children of the things that we are grateful for in this country, in our life. And we have challenges like everybody else. We have financial challenges. We have, discipline challenges. We have developmental challenges. We have all the things that everybody has when you have 4 children and you have a job and you're, a family with young children. We have all those problems, and yet we're grateful for running water. Because there are people who are still alive today that grew up without running water, without toiletry. There are actually people on the Navajo reservation right now that don't have indoor plumbing. And you got ladies doing this thing. So I'm showing you this not because I want to embrace this sensationalism. I would like some people to remind each other, we've got an awful lot of good things going on. So we can be upset about the way that our government's too big to fix. But what you can fix is your own little attitude in your house. And you can stop crying about having children, which you chose to have, which are the biggest blessing you could ever have, and a very temporary problem. It's a temporary problem to be upset. And whenever my wife goes through one of these moments, we have that discussion. It's like, look, hon, this too will pass. I promise you. It's maybe one of the things that I learned most when I was in the military. Like, I had awful days where people were trying to drown me for months in a row. We got drowned in the water and we knew it was coming. It's like you sat there and you stared at a wall and you're wearing your UDT shorts and you got a t-shirt on and you're sitting on wet pool deck and it's kind of cold and you're staring at a wall, listening to people get drowned behind you, and you know it's coming for you and you're going to get your name called at some point and you're going to pop up, you're going to jump in the water, and then some huge dude is going to try to smash you underwater, and he's not going to kill you, but it's one of the most uncomfortable things you could ever do. Get held underwater for a period of time and not have air. And if you fail at it, then you lose your job. I did that for a living. And I would do it again. It was good. Like, I chose it. I would probably do some of that for free because it's fun to recognize what your limits are and to remind yourself, like, hey, when you've done crazy things like people have tried to take your life and then they didn't do it and then you managed to survive, it turns down the volume on the stupid stuff. Like, oh my gosh, I'm really mad I stubbed my toe. Oh darn, the water pressure isn't what I hoped it would be. We're going to have to replace our hot water heater. What a bummer. We won't have hot water for a couple of days. It's been worse for everyone. And it's a good reminder to us that when you have these people doing this stuff, it's maybe because we don't have enough actual hardship. So they've created hardship. What a sad moment. Anyway, I want to show you these things. If you're not familiar with this, if you're social media naive, first of all, God bless you. You're living a best life. Whenever I can delete my social media accounts, whenever that moment comes and I yearn for it, I will go back to be someone who doesn't know that this crap is going on. I'd much rather not know it in some ways. But we should recognize what the things that are going on in your neighbor's house are if you didn't realize it. So here's a lady struggling with being a mom, and she's arguing with a toddler. And so she decided to act like a toddler. And then she broadcasted to the world and had millions and millions and millions of people watch her act like a toddler, as though that somehow is going to give us some sympathy. This makes me despise these people. And I hope her husband took her phone away. She's going to get some more ice. Yeah, she's so mad. She's not done yet, so she's going to throw more. She saved some special ice that she could break, which is a sheet of dice. This is actually wearing her out based on the breathing. Yeah, nothing for nothing. Go to the gym. Go lift something. Yesterday, I probably felt the same way, whatever that internal struggle is. And then I went and I just slashed some weights around. Go pick up a 20-pound medicine ball and move that back and forth while you're doing abdominal workouts until your face feels like it's going to bleed. Go do that. You'll feel fine. I promise you. Go swing an axe. Go swing a hammer. Go dig a hole. Go stand in the Texas sun and see how much of that you feel like. It's not actually hard to go and get your rage out. The crazy thing is all of us have that feeling where we're just so frustrated we want to break stuff. We want to put our hand through a wall. We want to kick through a window. We want to knock down a door, whatever it is. We want to pick up glass and smash it just because we want to see something break. We want to make something else feel the way that we feel, which is like upset and broken. The instinct to tape yourself, to set up a camera so other people can watch it and then cheer you on. And then people actually cheering you on. That's the grossest thing about our society right now, hands down. The fact that people are cheering on a woman who they said, we're all like Lindsay Clancy. I'm going to show you a PBS headline real quick. We're all like Lindsay Clancy. She was begging for help, guys. And she's a pretty mom with nice hair, and she has glasses, and she's got normal makeup, and she was begging for help. This is the PBS story from yesterday. Lindsay Clancy was, quote, begging for help before killing her children, her former mother-in-law testifies. And it leads with a note saying, if you're feeling thoughts of suicide, you can text this thing. We have suicide hotlines, people who will take care of you. The United States has crisis and suicide hotlines and all kinds of things like this. She was begging for help because she attempted to end her own life, and then she killed 3 children, and she did so over a period of 10, 15 minutes, slowly strangling them to death with exercise bands, which means she had an exercise room, whatever that looks like. I haven't seen the pictures of it. I don't really want to. Lindsay was struggling, and we were all concerned, she said. But rather than her snap out of it, she ended up just snapping and killing her kids. Same instinct as this lady, by the way, as far as I can tell. That performative deal where you've lost it. Now, let's just assume that this Lindsay Clancy woman, whether it's demonically possessed, whether it's witchcraft, whatever evil it is, because there's a deep, deep amount of evil that it takes for you to kill your own children, especially with your own hands like that, to execute them over a slow, long period of time. The youngest child survived for 3 days on life support. Do you know that? That's sick. And there's a reason why women used to get deeply punished for this kind of thing. There's a reason why people are looking at this and saying the death penalty is the answer. And the reason is because we can't have mothers kill off their children. But we have a society that already does that. We have a society that cheers it on. I've been to the Supreme Court where weird, gross, left-leaning, confused ladies, some of whom actually had pregnant bellies with things written on like not a person, who would be responsible for children, have been told that their children are not even people and they don't matter until a certain time. And then maybe even then, they've still been built up to believe that they don't matter. So we have a society that's embraced and cheered on abortion. And that's a pretty deep sickness. The sin of abortion is murder, for sure. It's killing a person. So we've got to accept that as a society. There's no question in my mind. That doesn't turn the person who's been involved in it. The people that I'm actually looking at, and this was our discussion yesterday in our house. How on earth do the doctors who know better deal with this? How on earth do the doctors that are aware of exactly what abortion is and does and understand things like embryology, how do those doctors live with themselves and handle the business of being in that job? Because I don't get it. There's plenty of instinct. You'll see videos, the abolitionist guys that we've had on, some other groups will go out there and they will show you this, picture of a developing embryo. And they will show it to you and they'll go like, oh, this is a fetus. This is a fetus at this age, blah, blah, blah. And then you go, okay. And then they'll say, this is not a real baby. Look, there's organs in there. This is AI. This is fake. The doctors know better than that. They know better. So how do they participate in it? I don't know how they do this, but we have a society that is deeply sick. And so, maybe that $40 trillion in debt is just a reminder that we're a nation in judgment, under judgment. Here's another video of this woman who decided to get all dolled up. This is deeply nauseating. She's very pretty. She's young. And she decides to do this in front of her child. So she is going to share the face of her child, who is apparently the cause of her distress. She is going to put herself in, a bizarre, sort of sexually provocative position, cleavage, legs spread, in front of a toilet with a tripod camera, and then sobbing to some bullshit music. All right, I don't even have any words for this stuff. I'll just show you right now. There's the baby. And there's some nonsense, and the baby's crying, and she's crying. She got dolled up to sit there. She has fake tears, and she's sitting in a very pretty red dress, I think, which the color itself is very provocative. And she's just sobbing for what? And she goes, ugh. You know who does that? My 5-year-old. My 5-year-old's a little bit slow in development about some things. And when he gets really upset, he also gags and cries. Let me show you something that we can all agree on. So people are feeling bad for this poor woman who did some awful thing, and how she's even alive right now is beyond me. This Lindsay Clancy character. I don't know how she's alive. I don't know how you could live with the idea that you had murdered your children. 3 of them. And then apparently she tried to take her own life, and now she's just fine. She's just sitting there, a little box of Kleenex. And they admit that this is not like she's accused of murdering. She has admitted the defense and the prosecution have both come to the same conclusion. Yes, she did it. They're just doing a insanity defense. And there's all kinds of stuff about what that looks like. I'll scroll some of these things. The trial centers not on whether or not she killed her children, which the lawyers do not dispute, but on her state of mind at the time. And the defense argues she shouldn't be held criminally responsible because she was suffering from postpartum psychosis, while the prosecutors say she planned the killings and understood what she was doing. I don't actually even care about that part of the trial, to be fair. I don't actually care about the trial at all. What I care about is that there's a reaction that is supportive of this woman and saying, oh, you have to understand how hard it is for her. Let me show you what I also don't understand, because there was no reaction for this. Do you guys remember this story? Matthew Taylor Coleman. He was a 40-year-old man in September of 2021 who murdered his 2 children because of some psychotic belief. He killed a 10-month-old daughter and a 2-year-old son with a spear gun that was meant for spearfishing in Mexico. And he did so for, the same sort of mental illness reasons. I think the Clancy character, she claims that she was hearing voices, and this guy says that he believed that he was enlightened and that there was some sort of evil DNA that he had passed into his children, so he had to stop it from spreading and he had to kill his kids. I get mental illness in my DMs every single day. It happens all the time. Is anybody defending the actions or saying, as a man, I empathize with this father and surfboard instructor who was 40 years old who murdered his kids with a spearfishing gun? I'll just go ahead and tell you there are not men that are like, yeah, being a man is really hard and sometimes you want to put a spear gun through your child's heart. No. If you're a man and the option came to be able to stop him, you would kill him with your bare hands to stop him from doing that thing. And you would sleep like a baby at night because that's what needed to be done. You won't see men making excuses for it's hard to be a man. There are more men that commit suicide every single year. And for some reason, we have this insanity where women are out there embracing this idea that, oh, it's so hard. I don't know how we're going to do it with running water and Amazon delivery and husbands who are going to CVS for us. She sent her husband to CVS to pick up stuff. We have sympathy for every single thing we can find. What you don't see are nonstop vigils by all these women, these mothers that are filming themselves throwing ice cubes or, crying at a toilet. What you don't see are nonstop vigils of them just sitting there crying and praying for babies who were murdered by a woman who lost her mind for whatever reason. That's a deeply dark moment to realize where your society has turned. And so I see a very simple line from that behavior and that focus. It comes from a real specific thing, not valuing children. And then you can kind of say, well, if you don't value children, then what other things might you see a society do? Maybe they would spend money like it's water. Maybe they would prioritize their own happiness and they wouldn't care about the next generation. Maybe they would say, data centers are great because there's a lot of money in them and we care about that. We don't care about the natural world that our children are going to inherit. We're going to just redo the Industrial Revolution and try to put poisons, and we're going to try to put processes in place that run up the cost on young families and make it difficult to be able to enjoy the outdoors. Like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to destroy water. Maybe you just wouldn't care about anything except like your own individual happiness, especially if it's not around you, if the ugly stuff is not around you. So we become this society that just has priorities that are so destructive. And the inevitable result of that is that, like, yeah, why wouldn't you kill children? I mean, what are they even alive for? What are they, like, they're not you. What's crazy, and I keep saying this, is that we're reliving a moment from the 1990s. And as much as you guys would like to make fun of like some of the music that came out of there, you can go back and listen to the art. You can look at the films. You can look at the literature or the fiction that was written at the time. And there was this instinct of like, what in the actual hell are we doing here? Why? What is this life about? What is the purpose? How do we assign meaning to it? What are we here for? And every generation, I'm sure, struggles with this at some level. But we got a purpose in 2001. We got a purpose as a nation. And the purpose was go kill Muslim people in the desert. Go kill the sand people. So we did. My generation did. Some of your generation, if you're older than me, some of your generation, if you're younger than me, did. You went out there and you're like, yeah, we've got a purpose. We're going to go fight these people. We're going to protect this special thing that we have here. And for what? For moms to do TikTok videos crying at a toilet and women sympathizing with mothers who strangled their children to death slowly, sent their husbands off to go and not be in the house, for a dad to come home and find out that his wife had killed 3 children in the basement, manually strangulating them, and then jumped out of a window and then laid in the cold. Having dealt with people like this as a paramedic, which by the way is one of the darkest things that I'll remember from my time working in a hospital in Tucson. We had a guy who killed his daughter, cut his wife's throat, burned his house down while he was in it, and they saved him. They got him out of the house where he had just murdered his family. And I dealt with him as a paramedic. In his bed, he was chained. His body was burned over the entirety of it. His face was burned. His hair was all burned off. His scalp was all scabbed and scarred. His all the way down to his toes had been burned. The clothes had been burned onto him, whatever. They debrided him. And he was laying in a hospital bed with basically like destroyed skin. It was 2 or 3 weeks after this had happened and they'd gotten him out. They'd put him in oxygen environments and all this kind of stuff. And he couldn't speak because he'd also cut his own throat. So he cut his own vocal cords. He wasn't even able to speak. He was nonverbal. He's like this big muscular black guy, like in his late 40s. And he would write things on these little tablets. That's how he communicated with the nurses and the doctors. And when I went in there, he didn't know who I was, but I'm a guy wearing scrubs or a t-shirt, whatever that said paramedic, Air Force logo, all this kind of thing. And I'm standing in there and he would write on the board over and over again, kill me now. Then he would show it, kill me now. And he would show it to me and he would write it. Then he would do it again. And then you got this lady sitting there in this trial. She's just chilling. And apparently that psychosis is gone. I don't know whatever happened to that guy. I never looked it up. Maybe I should. But I know what the reaction was, that he survived after whatever thing possessed him to do the thing that he did, which was horrific and atrocious. And I'm sure he was in incredible pain. And then you see this woman just sitting in the courthouse. She's just chilling there. It's a dark society that we live in right now, folks. Pretty sad. Doesn't make me feel any better. Not even a little bit. All right, if you guys are watching on Rumble, just do me a favor, give us a like. If this is challenging your thoughts, by all means, that kind of thing. You may hear an ad on the audio platforms, so adjust your audio accordingly. And you may hear something from the guys at Spotify. You can find us on Spotify, KyleSerafinshow.com. It's really heavy stuff, isn't it? It is. It's a heavy moment to read this stuff. It is as heavy for me knowing that and knowing that our country has been basically murdered in the same way. And people are just slowly going about their business. How do you cross $40 trillion in debt? This is the New York Post story today. Yay, we had elections yesterday. The United States debt crosses $40 trillion. It's the same mentality of who cares? Because we're not going to be here for it, I guess. The United States debt has dropped $40 trillion. If you guys saw the debt counters, there were some people that were watching it live. I watched some people film it. They posted it online when it actually went across. It's a decidedly mechanical and mathematical thing to watch. And it's just an arbitrary. We are already at $40 trillion, right? Within a few billion. Treasury Department said that it's drawing fresh warnings that a financial or a fiscal crisis is brewing with the ballooning costs for our social safety net programs and our interest payments that are now far outstripping what's being held back by tax cuts. Treasury's latest daily cash and debit balances showed a total public debt outstanding of $40.047 trillion on Tuesday, which includes Treasury securities held by the public, $32 trillion, intragovernmental debt holdings. Do you guys remember when we went over that? The government has over $7.5 trillion in IOUs to itself. That's how broken our system is. So what are people doing about it? In theory, we elect wise human beings to tell folks what they're up to and what we should be worrying about. How about a man who got into the Senate in 1981, the year I was born, when our national debt was not even $1 trillion. It was $998 billion. That's a ton of money. That's more money than any of us can fathom. But it's 1/40th of where we're at today. So what was Chuck Grassley, who was first elected, not to Congress, not in his first elected office, no, his first time in the Senate, the upper chamber, was in 1981. What was he doing yesterday?
Oh, boy. Thank you very much.
Well, he's receiving a vacuum cleaner.
Good.
He made a big deal the other day. I showed you the video of it, of him holding a 1966 Electrolux vacuum and hoping that somebody would give him a used Hoover, which I ran it by my dad. My dad's going to be 77 this year. And I said, when was the last time that people referred to vacuum cleaners as Hoovers? Was that a thing in your life? And he was like, no, by the time that we were old enough, we owned a Hoover, but we just called it a vacuum. So he's using terminology that was out of date by the time my dad was a kid. And my dad's in his mid-70s. And he's still serving. Should that kind of nauseate people? Is it, maybe I'm the only one. Maybe that just, like, maybe Chuck Grassley uniquely irritates me because of that. Because I just think it shows you exactly how little we care about the system. He's hoping, by the way, that
in here again in Southern California.
He's hoping he can live long enough that he can pass his seat down to his grandchild, who's getting ready to be a senior citizen. What is his grandchild's age? His grandchild's like my age. That's what he's hoping. Let's talk about another person. We talked about maybe Mitch McConnell is dead. And this focus, this crazy focus of saying, I'm so interested in me, and I'm not willing to just hand off the reins of power. I'm not willing to leave and retire. I'm not willing to go and enjoy life and be a grandparent. Is Chuck Grassley available to help be there for, great-grandchildren, to tell stories and pass wisdom, the things that great-grandparents have done? Like, people who lived into their 90s, were they working and pulling the levers of power for one of the world's superpowers? Let's say it's a two-axis world right now, us and China maybe. What are we doing? That same instinct is the thing that you see from Mitch McConnell, who's probably dead. I can't fathom that he's alive. This woman, Desiree Townsend, has been doing some really great work on it. She's just held on to this story. And so she did a bunch of digging into the roll call votes and the amount of work that Mitch McConnell was doing before he went into the hospital and then probably was dead. He hasn't showed up. His governor can't get in touch with him. The governor can't reach the senator. That's how backwards we are right now. So here's what she found out. His aides were doing all the work, and that he basically was like a non-functional, non-verbal. If you've ever dealt with people who have dementia or Alzheimer's and you've moved them around, I did that as a paramedic. One of the things you'll find out is sometimes you'll get them in the morning and they're fairly functional, and then they start sundowning, which is to say that like as the day goes on and as the freshness of the brain or whatever it is starts kind of like petering out, they get less and less functional to the point where they're almost catatonic. And I've seen people go from being functional to being completely nonverbal in 6 months. Same patient. You watch him for a while. So maybe that's what, I don't know how far down the line Mitch was going, but apparently he was already non-functional in the afternoons, and she's out here pulling it from video files, which means everybody that was in the Senate was also complicit because they knew he wasn't functional. But the system has been protecting itself. That's how you end up with $40 trillion. That's when people think that they are completely unaccountable. Do you think that they care about voters under any circumstances? Is there any chance that these people are going to ever worry about whether or not, your vote or your instinct or what you hope that they would represent you to do would matter? Not at all.
Desiree Townsend here again in Southern California. So I want to give all of you an update on what I've been doing with the Mitch McConnell story. So I have been digging into over 40 hours of roll call votes prior to his last vote on June 11th. Now, what I found was absolutely astounding. Basically, staffers, clerks, and even other senators are helping or were helping Senator Mitch McConnell to prompt him to vote and how to vote. I've never seen anything so bad before. So I've clipped out about a dozen or so clips showing you staffers, members, clerks, I believe, on the Senate floor, and even other senators reminding Senator Mitch McConnell to vote and how to vote. I have the Chief of Staff, Terry Carmack, on video showing Senator McConnell how to change his vote. So essentially what has happened is it's very hard on any given day to see Senator Mitch McConnell come in and vote. Largely, he's wheeled onto the Senate floor. He comes just barely to the door, and he's most of the time out of frame of the camera. The other thing I observed is that Senator Mitch McConnell does appear to have some sort of incapacitation, in my belief. I noticed that he's able to talk and he's more robust during the morning hours, and then in the afternoon, he does not seem to even know where he's at. I've talked to some people in the medical field that work with geriatric patients, and they explain that this is frequently what you see with dementia. They're able.
This goes on. That's a longer clip. If you guys aren't following Desiree Townsend, I think she's worth a follow. She has far less audience than she should for what she's doing on this particular story. And she's like a dog with a bone on it. So good on her. Really well done. The guy was already non-functional prior to likely dying and having CPR and then putting him in a hospital and keeping him on life support or whatever the hell's going on. You want to know how you get to $40 trillion? You get people that are incapacitated, zombie-like, hanging out in our Senate, passing the bills that spend our money. And then once something happens like this is a great opportunity to talk about small government, isn't it? So the heroes of the Republican Party, the conservatives who want to see less government spending, no, we got rid of that guy. The one guy that seems to be most fixated on how much money do we have, how much money do we spend, and how screwed are we saddling the next generation with this debt or the next several generations, our grandchildren's grandchildren. Who's focused on that? People like Tom Massey. And they got voted out. They were the problem. Here's Rick Scott, Florida. We'll talk about his interesting little note on this. He spent 35 seconds letting you know how bad it is, the spending.
This is not good. Our national debt just hit $40 trillion. $40 trillion. $40 trillion. Here's what that means. The cost of everything is going to go up. The value of the dollar is going to go down. So if you're a hardworking American family, your paycheck's not going to go as far. This has got to stop. We need to balance the budget. We need to get inflation under control. We need to make sure that people can afford a house, a car, their education, groceries, all these things. You're not going to do it with $40 trillion of debt.
Go F yourself, Lurch. I wish we had a moment where we could pay someone like Terry Crews. You remember the Terry Crews commercials? It was Terry Crews, office linebacker. And you have this huge muscle-bound dude who's got crazy eyes. And he's like standing like this. And it's like, don't touch the copy machine, Bob. And then he like tackles the guy, Bob, at the copy machine. That's Rick Scott. He voted yes on the big, beautiful bill, which they just passed in, which they've touted. The upside is that we don't have taxes on suppressors. So we can buy suppressors. They could have just actually done that on its own. But no, they passed a spending bill, which was one of the biggest spending bills ever. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that the Big Beautiful Bill Act, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the OBBBA, will add somewhere between $3.4 and $4.2 trillion to the primary deficit in the coming decades. That doesn't factor in the debt service, which costs us even more. So 10% of our national debt was passed in the last budget that guy voted for. And he's telling you, we got to look at things. It's going to be hard for families to afford stuff. Spare me. And I mentioned in the opening, it's not new. Here's a interactive chart that I found. I'll link this in the show description or in the in the comments today. Here you go. Let's go back to 1993. Clinton era, 4.3 trillion. We are literally adding 4.3. We're doing that much with last year's budget. We're doing the entire national debt for 200 and something years, 220 years. How about the year 2000? How about that? Let's go to December. There you go. January of 2000. $5.71 trillion. It feels quaint. We can add that with one budget now. That's how jacked up this country is. And look at this climb. Because if you were to stretch this graph out, what you'd see is that this number is lower for all of history. Down to $1 trillion. This is $5 trillion. This is the line right here for 5. This is 0. Here's about where 1 is. When I was born, it was at 1. In 2000, where it's at here at 5.71 trillion, I was 18. So when I was old enough to vote, we had a 5.71 trillion. When I was born, we had a 1 trillion. In the first 18 years of my life, we did about 5 trillion adding to the debt. Let's just do that. Just think about that. Think of your own life, 18 years. In the last 10 years, we've done 20 trillion. Are you ready? Here is Donald Trump gets into office. Let's go to, there's January 2017. Donald Trump takes office. $19.94 trillion in debt. And so we went, you guys, if you ever climbed like a mountain, you start in the foothills and you start going, oh, okay, yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of a grade. And then you get into the part where it gets kind of steeper and you're like, ooh, now we're really putting on, now you really kind of put your back into it. And then you start climbing up the things. We're moving to the part where it's going to just go up. The parabolic curve is going to continue up here exponentially. It's just going to be a straight line. That's when you're climbing the rocks and you need the ropes and the protection. We're right there. Is there any plan to stop it? Is there any way that you can when it gets that big? Is this snowball even something that can be slowed down? I don't know if it can. But that mentality to do that, to end in this place where we're just going to kick the can down the road and somebody else will deal with it. You couldn't do this in a business. You couldn't do this in your home. When I see people that are like, hey, how on earth is the IRS going to charge me interest on money that I quote unquote owe them when they can't, like, our country can't even keep a budget even close. This is a woman from the Bipartisan Policy Center, Margaret Spelling. She says the federal debt is already raising the cost of living and choking out other spending and investments, threatening our economy and Americans' long-term prosperity. Yeah. Our current financial trajectory is plainly unstable and unsustainable. And that's in the best case scenario. AI disruptions, recession, global war, any number of other events could quickly push us over the edge from a challenge. It's nice to see that this is where we're at right now with 40 trillion. It's a challenge to a full-blown crisis. The fun thing is that the U.S. Congress is subject to statutory debt limits or to limit federal borrowing. And then every single time that it's necessary, they raise that limit. Republicans do it and Democrats do it. Everybody's excited about raising the debt limits. And they all try to kick it off and do it when it's least obvious to the people that are supposed to vote for them. Because God forbid. Because we need to let you know.
This is not good. Our national debt just hit $40 trillion.
Nobody wants to take responsibility for their votes that put it there. This is not good. That might be the understatement of the century. So how are we going to vote our way out of that? You guys tell me. Luckily, I know some of you are probably saying, Seraphin, are you just being positive? Have you thought about the golden age? I have. Here's what I think about the golden age. Donald Trump is showing off a multi-million-dollar White House helipad. And then he adds his signature to a piece of granite that they're going to apparently bury. Questions are mounting on who's paying for the project. Does anyone want a news flash on who's paying for it at the end of the day? At the end of the day, it's always you. It's always you. It's always all of us. We're all paying for it. It might come in through donors, where the donors get the money. They got it through, selling something. It comes back down. It comes down to the lowest levels. Costs get distributed. That's the nicest way to say it, right? And the thing that I was thinking about the White House is I was like, why don't they have a nicer helipad? Could we spend a bunch of time? Look at all these dudes out there that you see that are working there. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 25 people in construction outfits standing behind him. If only we could get more dudes doing construction on the White House. That makes sense. And then Donald Trump is concerned, what if his signature is not good? This is going to be there for a really long time. Maybe it'll never be seen again, but maybe it will be seen and it should look really nice. See if we can pull that clip. Thought I pulled it down here. Oh yeah, I did. Trump signs off on his heliport. Here we go. Let's see what our president's up to.
Okay. I hope this is a good one. This had better be a good one. Even though, in theory, I don't know if anyone's ever going to see it again. That's a beautiful cut. Hey, maybe we should reverse it. Let it stay up. I like it better than what's on the other side. That's pretty great, huh? Oh, that's good.
Oh, yeah, that's a great signature. Outstanding.
I think we should use this side.
Oh, yeah.
We're using the wrong side. We're flipping it. What do you think? Can we use this side? Is that good? I'll tell you what. That's good. Come on, Brett, sign this.
Yeah.
Anywhere you want. Better be under my name. No, I'm only.
I'm super important. Guys, so good. That's a great signature. There's been this discussion about one of his aides. She makes $150,000 a year, apparently. This is what I just read, the public statement about her salary. CNN has been making a big deal out of it, talking to the brother. This is Natalie Harp, who's one of the people that apparently has staked her life, her future, her sacred honor on making sure that Donald Trump's tweets go out with weird punctuation and all that kind of stuff. And so this was a CNN topic. It's a very important discussion last night. I'm going to play you a couple things about it. I'm going to also tell you why I think it actually matters. Here, how about this story? This is from MS Now. Take it for whatever it's worth. I think they probably have pretty good sourcing on this. This tends to be the case. Trump aide Natalie Harp worked at the White House without security clearance for a year. She insinuated herself in. Look at her. Okay, so here's what we got. If you're just watching on the screen, I'm going to try to describe it if you can't see it. This is the Marine One helicopter, which strangely doesn't need a helipad at all. We need a multi-million-dollar helipad, but it doesn't seem to be necessary. They still are able to land a helicopter. I've seen the helicopter land. It just lands on the grass. It seems nice. It's probably bad on high heels, if I had to guess, and ladies who are wearing like pretty dresses like this. So here's some lady. She's coming out of the helicopter. The president is, I don't know, 24 steps in front of her. She looks like a fembot or a Stepford wife or something like that. But she's not married. She doesn't have any kids. She was at OAN. She was like a news lady who basically found, oh, what if I could cling to this man who's old and married and has had children with multiple women and won't be around very much longer. But in the short term, this is obviously going to be beneficial to me for somehow. So here she is. Closest aide declined multiple times over a year to seek a routine security clearance that's normally obtained for West Wing staffers who work at the White House, according to people familiar with the matter. Unfortunately, it's people familiar with the matter. We don't have sourcing, but that's just the way it works. Both people said that Harp's reasoning for declining to complete the process was unknown. You know why they do that? Why they investigate you? Because they want to find out if you can be manipulated, if you have problems in your background, like they're supposed to have somebody else take a look into it. I don't know. It's not to say she's doing something nefarious. I think the darkest thing about this is what it says about our culture. That women in their mid-30s, about the time that my wife and I were having our first baby, which was really, really late in the game. We were really late to the party when it came to having kids. To the point where our first pregnancy was described as a geriatric pregnancy, which is a really weird thing to hear when you don't think you're that old. You're like, geriatric? What are we talking about? You're 35 years old. You're geriatric. You're a geriatric mom. So we've got this lady who's hit that level, not making babies. AOC, 35, not making babies, injecting herself. That's been the comparison. It's like, do you want to be like Nancy Mace, divorced, 47, midlife crisis, getting tattoos? Do you want to be like AOC, who's starting to get a little heavier and she's injecting herself with like hormones so she can preserve her eggs for some sort of political bullshit? You got this lady doing the same thing as AOC. She's in love with a guy, or she's based her life around a man that's not married to her, that already has a wife, that already has children with that wife. Gross, man. It's really gross. So that's what we're talking about on CNN. You know what we're not talking about? Mass deportations and a war with Iran.
Also be saying that about Donald Trump if I'm even going to take you seriously.
Scott?
I expect Ossoff to criticize Donald Trump. I expect every Democrat running for president to criticize Donald Trump. What I thought was appalling about this is that Harp is not a public figure. She's not.
She's literally getting off Marine One. You're a public figure when that starts happening. Just saying.
Not a household name. Nobody knows who she is. And when he injected her into this, he knew what he was doing, which is punching down on someone who's effectively defenseless.
Doesn't Donald Trump do that all the time?
All the time.
I mean, what do you mean? He's doing it right now while we're here. Guys, there's no no rules.
I hate when I have to agree with people like Representative Moskowitz here. I hate having to agree with these people. You claim she's not a public figure. She's hanging out with the president. She's in documentaries, writing the president's tweets. I think she's a public figure. She's also a public employee.
Anymore. Donald Trump broke all of those.
Are you defending
Rob Reiner dies. Donald Trump cheers his death. There are no rules anymore.
Robert Mueller dies. Okay. He defends his death.
Hold on. There are no rules anymore. You might not like it. Donald Trump is the king of trolls. What I find amazing is that the best trolls can't take incoming. I don't care who they are.
Is she a troll?
But they can't. No, but Trump is. Okay,
I know, but he didn't insult Trump. He insulted a female who can't defend herself.
She's a White House staff.
She's not a troll.
She's a White House staff member.
The right cannot take any incoming.
Here's the deal. It's not the right, and it's not Trump. It's a single defenseless woman.
She's not defenseless.
What about Richard Freeman and Shay Moss?
Caitlin Collins asks a real question, and Trump demeans her every single solitary day.
Let me go ahead and.
That's probably a pretty good analog right there, what you just saw for our national debate. We have a troll for a president who's a bully and a jerk who cares about his signature on a piece of rock, spending millions of dollars on something that we don't actually need. As our country hits the $40 trillion debt mark, And women are not just killing their children, but they're celebrating the women who did it as feel seen, lady. Feel seen. Because the option is be some toddler type lady on TikTok. You know, this is not all the people out there, obviously, but these are the really public crazy stories that exist. Your choices are have other moms celebrate you. What about the moms that quietly just do their jobs that we all know? I see them every day. My wife's one of them, but they're like, she's around. They don't have TikToks. There's a woman that goes to church with us. Husband's a cop. She's a stay-at-home mom. She does homeschooling and works with her kids on, some are homeschooled, some are not. They have 9 children. She probably wants to throw them through the wall sometimes because kids are nuts. I've been around, you get a birthday party of 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds around, and they're insane. They're just children. That's what they do. They need to be running around. And we've got grown-ups that basically act the same way in politics with trillions of dollars at stake. And they're not solving the problems. They're not doing the hard things that it would take. There are hard things that need to be done right now. We need to deport a bunch of people, including families. It's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. There was a whole vote about it in 2024. We put this guy in. He had campaigned. He was going to do the mass deportations. He was going to get everybody out. Are we going to do that? Nah. That would hurt some businesses. That would make a lot of money. They would have to lose some money. Are we going to do no new wars? Nah. We're going to do wars because it helps somebody else, some other country. We're going to do things for everyone except the people that voted for this. Seal our border, which, by the way, I found out yesterday. I've been kind of like getting there over the last couple days. Our border's not even sealed. We're going to get some of the guys on who have been doing border coverage down at near the Bridge of the Americas, which is El Paso. People are just walking over. They're jumping into cars and they're driving in. We were told that the border was completely sealed. Nah, it's just a record-keeping error. It's like everything else. I should have known better, to be fair. I gave them credit on this one. We were told that there were no more border crossings, that they were effectively zero. That's not. They're not effectively zero. There are people that are creeping in over the border right now. The border fences and the border walls that we have are open for quote-unquote monsoon season, so they don't have all kinds of crap that gets caught on these huge metal fences. So the border's still open. There's still people sneaking into this country. There's coyotes and drugs and all kinds of other shit coming in. 100%. Did we do the largest deportation operation? No. Are we ending inflation? No. In fact, what we're doing is we're doing the highest that the national debt has ever been with no plan to do anything about it except walk through the halls of Congress or through one of the Senate office buildings and saying, I know I voted for this, but I hope that you don't know that I voted for this. Yeah. And I'm responsible, but I'm not taking any responsibility. We're going to kick it down the line. Meanwhile, your oil costs are up, your costs on your home, your housing, your food, everything goes higher, crazier every single day. For those of you that are mentioning Big Bend National Park, which is in Texas, I've been there a couple times. There was a plan to put a big highway in or something like that. And they were going to do some big border piece there. Guess what? They stopped. The people on the ground are reporting that nobody has announced it, but they just stopped working and they went away. There's actually a sign up there that says that they thought they were going to do this, and this is just the remnants. This scar in the ground is just the remnants of what was going to be done. It was just a shit idea that somebody came up with that had nothing to do with solving the problem, but it probably spent a ton of money, government money. And there's zero accountability. People walked away with contracts that probably unpaid, unfinished, but they got paid. Yeah, why the hell not? It's actually an incredible time to watch this. And all of this stuff, I think, has to do with where the values of our society have gone. That through line for me, whether we're talking about women killing their babies, whether we talk about women killing their babies in utero, we talk about people spending money that they'll never be able to see, basically killing off the next generation, saddling them with crippling debt. It's just a mentality. It's like we're only in it. We're here for the now, and we don't have any hope for the future. That's kind of the opposite of a golden age, isn't it? I'm going to play you a little clip from Mike Howell, who I like quite a bit. He's at the Oversight Project. He was with the Heritage Foundation for a bit. Mike's one of those people I feel like is consistent. He's one of the good ones in D.C. That's just my personal vibe on him. We've never actually met in person, but we've talked enough on the phone and texted enough that that's my instinct. And he's pointing it out. It's a betrayal. The problem, as we pointed out yesterday, is that there's a huge business in trying to ignore the betrayal. There is an entire profession. It's not very big, but it is very lucrative, of people that wash the balls of these men that are making these terrible decisions. the ball washers. They use their mouths to professionally wash the balls. They metaphorically wash the balls with their literal faces. I won't apologize for that one. Scott Jennings, who I just showed you on CNN, is one of them. He's in the controlled oppo party that goes up on CNN. Anyway, here's Mike Howell pointing out that nobody's trying to fix this.
When I travel the country, talk to young guys and gals, or, in any of these group chats, calls, meetings, whatever, the question's not like if the administration failed on the mass deportation program to even start it, it's why. They know it hasn't happened, and they know it's not likely to happen unless something big changes. And when they get to the question of why is where you get to the foundational issues in the failure of realignment in the Republican Party. The MAGA movement was supposed to wrestle away from the consultant class, the donors and the special interests, and foreign policy radicals and fanatics, and give power back to the people. That power was clearly given back to the people that we took it from. That's playing out in every major issue we see today. And in nowhere is that more clear, I think, on the failure to even start with bold conviction. The same bold conviction that was at the convention, that was on the very simple 20-point campaign promise list, that was throughout the campaign season after Biden wrecked our borders. Those things just aren't happening, and other things are happening in their place. And the other things that are happening benefit the old school Republican uniparty that is taking power back and had a big night last night. And for mass deportations, it's because the donors and the big business owners, the CEOs who can get to the White House, who can get to DHS, they don't want it. They want their cheap labor. Well, you know what we want? The people who vote, the people who have to raise a family in this country, grow up, politically organize, clean up this mess that our elders have left us. We want to be able to do it in our own country, in our own home, without an invasion still lingering here, without the threat of an invasion every time a Democrat takes the White House. So I'll be damned if we're going to sit back and just watch minuscule enforcement with spicy tweets. There needs to be worksite enforcement. There needs to be falling back in love with this promise and following through on it. We're going to be watching closely. The midterm convention's coming up. I hope that's the point where the lights come on and it's like, damn, we better do this thing we promised.
100% agreed. He's got young kids. He just hit on all the things that we were talking about earlier. Did he not? If you got a young family and you're looking at this crippling debt and you're saying, we voted for something hard. You said you were willing to go do the hard thing. Taking on children is difficult. Having more children, it's tough. Watch any parent struggle. There's a lot of empathy between parents. We go, oh, I remember when mine were that age and they didn't listen. It's tough. You have to teach them. You have to be, hard on them. And you have to worry about whether other people are judging you. And historically, other people understood what you were going through when you were raising children because they had done it too. There are so many people that I see every single day that look at children and they go, ugh, because they have zero experience with it. They're of all ages. They'll be in their 60s. I have family members come up and do weird things because they've never had children themselves. And now you get to people that are in their 40s, and that's pretty common. There's a ton of people that are my age that have never had children. And they don't know what to do around them. They just are like, what is, I know I was once a child, but I was probably never icky like this one. It's like, what the hell's wrong with you people? The entire purpose of your time on this earth is to make more people. That's what all of humanity's been about. And for whatever reason, the last 3 generations, the one above me, mine, and the one below me, they've moved into this absolutely suicidal tailspin. And meanwhile, we're borrowing money for the smaller number of people that we're making. So of course they're importing all this stuff. If you don't make people in your own country, you bring them in for the cheap labor. It turns out the cheap labor used to be called high school students and college graduates. That was your cheap labor. They were people that were from your country. They spoke your language. They had your customs. They were going to learn your values by coming into your company. It used to be said that when you were going to work for the first time, first you got paid for what you did because you didn't know anything because you were young. That's the nature of the beast. And you got paid for what you did until you learned how to tell other people how to do it. And then you started getting paid for what you know and teaching other people how to do the thing that you needed to do. This has been the historical progression. It's like, oh, you're the guy who can do the hammer swinging. Fantastic. Now you swing the hammer. Oh, you can swing the hammer and you can look over a group of people swinging the hammer. Fantastic. Now you're like a shift supervisor. And then you're like, maybe you know why the hammer is being swung. Now you might manage a project. or a section of a project until you might manage a whole job site. And this is true in everything, whether it be marketing, whether it be in law enforcement, whether it be in construction, or whether it be in network engineering. You learned how to do something, and then you eventually got paid for why we do it. Who are we bringing in now? Freaking Indian people that don't speak our language, that take over and don't have our values. So it's not surprising that our society has completely decided that like everything is transient. Why would you care about educating the next generation if you just import some shitty people from some other place? It makes you sick. It really does. All right. We were talking about ball washing, which I saw some reactions in our chat about that. Let's talk about hair washing for a quick second. That's a terrible segue. The folks over at Heavy Barrel Shampoo make a good product. There's one sitting here actually on my desk. This is a copy of it. You can see where the name Heavy Barrel comes from. It looks like they have a barrel shroud like you'd see on a heavy barreled machine gun. All right. It's made in America. There's the American flag on it right there on the side. HeavyBarrelShampoo.com/KYLE. HeavyBarrelShampoo.com/Kyle. Make sure you're using Kyle at checkout. Here's the easiest way to do it. First of all, you know you're going to end up using shampoo if you're a man and you wash your hair, which you do, or you better. Don't be a stink. If you're going to wash your hair, get yourself 3 up front. This is the easiest way to do it. You get free shipping and you get our discount code to work for you. Okay, so grab 3, get free shipping. So you'll get 10% off the total price. You get 3 at a time. It's not like you're not going to use it at some point. You can put 1 in your travel bag. You put 1 in your gym bag. You put 1 in your shower at home, or you give 1 to your son, whatever it is. Then you make it all work for you. Here's the upsides to them. It's an all-natural fragrance, so you're not dealing with things that are like all kinds of goofy stuff. There's no artificial fragrances in there. It's an American-made product with pumpkin seed extract, supposed to make your hair thicker and stronger. I don't know. I'm trying to get rid of my hair, but yeah, I think it makes it thicker and stronger. I actually was using it the other day, and I was like, ooh, it's kind of silky smooth. I felt kind of like Billy Madison moment. Anyhow, check that out. The best thing in there is a peppermint oil. It's natural oil extracts. They have peppermint, they have rosemary, and cedarwood. The peppermint is an eye-opener in the morning if you need it. And if you're like me, where sometimes you just like get out of bed and it feels like someone beat the crap out of you, part of it's my own fault from going to the gym. Part of it is because I'm probably sleeping on a crap mattress or something. But part of it's just because at 40-something, every year gets a little bit harder. You guys know what I'm talking about. Jump in the shower, throw some of this stuff in your hair, clean your hair, open your eyes up, and get ready to start your day. It does not suck. Anyway, look into Heavy Barrel Shampoo if you guys are in the market for it. These are one of the folks that are sponsoring our program. We appreciate them jumping in with us. And if you're in the market for it, which at some point you will be, you can order it at home. You don't even have to go to the grocery store. Maybe one of the things that I hate the most, maybe one of the things we should be most happy about in our current society is you can order stuff. It's great. I used to hate shopping. Going to a store was my nightmare. It's maybe my favorite thing about the internet. It also was a thing that I would 100% give up in a heartbeat. But at the moment, we have the ability to do that. So if you guys want to order stuff to the door and not have to be a guy wandering through the shampoo aisle, like trying to figure out what the hell each thing is. And you're like, does this look gay? Is this gay? Is this for men? Is this not for men? Does this smell like a woman, but it says it's for men? I deal with that stuff. Women, you don't even know. That struggle is real. All right, what else is going on? How about this? Oh, Trump is going to kill Iran. So that's good news. If you were wondering, will Trump destroy Iran? The answer is yes. Are we going to be back-to-back Iran war champions again? We are. I think I've actually got his tweet here, or his True Social post, which is truly something to behold. Likely typed out by Natalie Hart, if we had to guess, right? Let's see what we got here. The new economic plan. We're doing an economic D-Day. I will just read it. And I'm assuming that he read it to a lady who we talked about earlier who's not having children. Quote, no one has given the Islamic Republic of Iran greater opportunity to make a deal, capital D, than me. Tragically, all caps, for them, they have failed to take it. Therefore, today, I'm announcing the, here we go, all caps, most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. I think I have a voice thing. Hold on.
The most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country.
This will be an economic warfare and isolation, capitalize E, W, and I, on an unprecedented scale. Their navy is gone. The navy is not capitalized in the case of the Iranian navy. That's weird. Their air force is destroyed. Air force also not capitalized. I hate that. That really hurts my feelings. Their military factors are now rubble, their currency is worthless, and their country is hanging by a thread. Guys, we have to do the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country because they don't have a navy, they don't have an air force, their military factories are in rubble, their currency is worthless, and their country is hanging on by a thread. So we have to push them over the edge with the wildest possible sanction package or whatever the hell this is. Okay, today I'm also announcing that any country that allows its financial institutions, its businesses, its airports, or government entities to provide any type of lifeline to Iran will itself face
tremendous economic consequences.
oil smuggling, swap lines, cash transfers, exchange houses, ship registries, front companies. They all need to stop
now.
All right, I'm done playing with that. You know who you are. This will be an economic D-Day. It's an economic D-Day, and we need our allies to stand with the United States of America to isolate and to defeat the Iranian threat, or the Iran threat. These maniacs are on the ropes, and these historic measures will cripple them and their ability to project terror worldwide. Okay, this is all caps. I have to do it again.
Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
What are we doing here?
President Donald J. Trump.
Seriously. He's done that, and then he also said he's going to pull out of NATO, which I think is great. I think we should pull out of NATO. But I think that this sounds like a petty fool. And this thing where we've destroyed them so many times, we're back to back to back to back to back to back Iran war champions. They have no navy, they have no air force, they have no military factories, they have no currency. Their country is basically destroyed, and now we're going to destroy them with economic crushing operations. How far are we away from announcing that we're going to put troops on the ground like Mark Levin wants? I assume it's soon. And Trump said, people, if you're not with us, you're against us. The same way he said to people who are conservatives, like, hey, if you're not with us, you're with the communists. This really doesn't play. I don't know who's advising him on this. Maybe it's a 34-year-old woman that doesn't go outside and doesn't have a husband to tell her this is a bad idea. Maybe she throws ice cubes.
Not sticking together. I think that NATO made a terrible mistake when they wouldn't send a small amount of military armament, when they wouldn't send, just even acknowledge what we were doing for the world and taking on Iran. I never considered it very risky, but war is always risk. You know, a lot of strange things happen in war that are very bad, but I didn't consider it. I know how great we're the greatest military by far anywhere. There was nobody close. I didn't think there was a big risk, but there's always surprises with war. They can be very bad surprises. I mean, wars are lost that should be won. Many wars are lost. You think a country is going to wipe somebody out and they end up getting wiped out themselves. So it's always risky. But I think a tremendous mistake was when NATO just wasn't there. They just weren't there. It's going to make a lot of money for the United States because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year on NATO, hundreds protecting them. And we would have always been there for them. But now, based on their actions, I guess we don't have to be, do we?
Yuck. So we're done with South Korea. We're friendly with North Korea. We're going to be done with NATO. Again, that'd be fine. That'd be fine if that was the reason why. A lot of people are also speculating that we want to pull out of there because Turkey is a NATO ally. If you pull out of there, then we're not triggered to have to fight Israel. If Israel decides to go pick a fight with Turkey, all kinds of things. Maybe the NATO countries, a lot of which are European, don't want to get into a fight because they have massive Muslim populations which are sympathetic to Iran. There's a ton of reasons why this wouldn't be the case. Maybe that's why nobody wanted to go to fight with Iran before. That everybody kind of gamed it out and they said, this is a terrible choice. Like, don't do this. Yeah, we've been at war, air quotes, with Iran for 47 years, but not actual war because we never actually wanted to go to war with Iran because it's a losing battle. Let's go to a ball washer real quickly.
He outmaneuvered our best thinkers at the Pentagon. Our best thinkers at the Pentagon said, this is the way we fight this. And when we do fight this, God forbid we ever have to fight it, oil will go to $150 to $350 a barrel. That collapses the economy. That's why all of these guys kick the can down the road. Because there's no way out. And the Pentagon knew it. So all the advisors said, can't do it because it'll do this. Donald Trump says, well, that's not how I'm going to fight the war. I'm going to fight the war differently, and I'm going to keep the strait open. And they're like, Mr. President, you're not going to be able to. Well, really? Watch me. Because here's how we're going to do it. So they all get on board, and they're all like, okay. And he has kept the price between $110 and $70 a barrel. Today, I think it's an $83 or $88 a barrel, something like that, which is totally doable. We've had that kind of price before. At 120, it starts to get really dicey. I mean, it's expensive, but it's economy collapsing at 120 to 150 sustained.
Roger that. Okay, I get it. So what you're saying is that
Stricken. You're stricken. Poverty-stricken.
we're poverty-stricken. Look, we've come to the point in the show where we might need a little bit of a musical break away from this thing. We might need a breather, so maybe we'll just take a little... Donald Trump is fighting the war in a different way than anybody else has ever fought the war. Even though we're not winning the war, we're about to do the most crushing sanctions that have ever taken place in the history of crushing sanctions. We've already destroyed their Navy, which is a lowercase n. We've gotten rid of their Air Force, lowercase a and f. And they have no military factories to build anything, so who knows what's going on. Anyway, after all that ball washing, I just need kind of like maybe a musical interlude.
With Operation Epic Fury.
It's only good if you win, and we won in the first hour. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch! A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Iran is charging fees to tankers going through the Hormuz Strait. They better not be in, and if they are, they better stop now. The leadership is dead. The Strait of Hormuz will soon be open. Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. No more Mr. Nice Guy! They'll come down fast, they'll come down easy, and if they don't take the deal, it will be my honor to do what has to be done. We're fighting wars we can't take care of. Daycare. Anyone sick of winning yet?
Is that about right? Great comment over on our chat. This is why we need more data centers, so we can make more AI songs, so we could just laugh at how pathetic this stuff is. Terrific. I feel great. I don't know if you guys do too. Let's finish up with the CNN article here. What Trump must change? The best thing in this line here. It says he's not going to just have to change his calculus on Tehran. He's going to have to change his own behavior. Destroying the Iranian economy would take months, maybe even years. It would call for a kind of strategic patience that Donald Trump never shows. Iran will not be alone if it gambles that the president will tire of his new plan long before it shows results. It's almost like you can see that he gets bored of stuff. He tries things out. It doesn't really work because, you know, we're living in a time when we have unserious people doing the most serious jobs. And he's got people that are out there cheering it on nonstop. It's not a lot of people, but there is a professional cadre of people, like I call them, the ball washers. And what are they doing? They make a living telling people what you don't realize is it's genius. I saw Clayton Morris from the For Redacted podcast hit me today. He was like, Seraphin, you just are missing out because it's just like it's 10D chess. How did you not know? Yeah. That 10D chess thing, it was in response to the video I played you yesterday of Glenn Beck making a similar ridiculous claim that, and I'm going to try to sum this up. Donald Trump is the house that we bought. The house had some repairs that were needed. It turned into a money pit. The money pit resulted in us getting a divorce just after everything was going to be fine. Except in that metaphor, the divorce equals America goes to war with itself. Because divorce in the national context of a country that bought the house of Donald Trump, that's civil war. That's urban and regional violence inside the United States, which, by the way, I tend to agree is going to happen. I don't think there's any way around it. There's a reason why they're very well-received episodes of people like Tim Pool and Timcast, why they've had Civil War be the thing that brought up multiple times. There's a reason why we were talking about this during the COVID chaos. We have fundamentally different outlooks on the world, but it's not like a left-right divide per se. It's more like urban and rural. And what that comes down to is people who value more people and traditional values in America, and then people who want whatever this new shit is. Whatever this thing is. You want AI slot music? I'd prefer to have people that can play the music. It doesn't mean I don't find it entertaining every once in a while to listen to a funny song like that. But I'd forego that in a heartbeat, just like I'd forego being able to ship things and buy them on the internet. I'd be fine with buying things from catalogs in a heartbeat. Because I want my children to have a life that was more like what I grew up with. And apparently, some people don't care about that at all. They just want whatever the most convenient moment is for themselves. Anyway, here's the Glenn Beck bit that makes me laugh. It's sad when smart people with tons of influence use that influence basically for their own personal enrichment. Kind of like our current president.
I think, though, that the entire political system is disconnected on all sides.
Yeah.
You know, the only ones that really have a clue, but they're lying to you, is the socialists.
Yeah.
The socialists are talking about where people are living right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going on. It seems completely unfair. The system is broken. I can't afford my bills.
Yeah.
And no one in the Democrats or the Republicans are actually addressing that. Donald Trump is, you know, he fixed the leak. He fixed the pipe in 2016, but he fixed it with tape because he had to fix it quickly. Okay. He thought he had another term. He's not fixing the pipe with tape this time. He's replumbing the entire house. And so it's like, you know, it's that moment in the Money Pit where they buy this house and it's great. The house is Donald Trump. We're the ones who bought this house and it's great. It's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful. I can't believe we got it. It's finally our dream house. And then it's a money pit and nothing is being fixed. And you're spending all this time. You're like, they're never going to fix it. Why aren't they fixing it? And they get a divorce or they're headed for divorce right when it's finished.
Hooray! So Donald Trump's going to fix America as we go to war with each other. That sounds amazing. It seems like it's just this deeply out of touch bit again, but there's a whole culture, there's a whole industry that's throwing influence and telling people just hang in there, it's going to be fine. Meanwhile, all the things that are being done are awful, and you can see them being done awful in real time. This is a piece that Scott McFarlane posted. I've got an interview I'll play you. So the clip below I'll play you in just a second here, but he's interviewing Josh Shapiro, Democrat, Pennsylvania. I'm not a fan, but he's saying things that are more in touch, which is kind of what Glenn Beck just said. It's kind of what Mike Howell also said. There are people who recognize the situation, the circumstances on the ground, but those people have to actually look at imagine that Josh Shapiro is doing something that is more forward-looking and more family and child focused in his messaging. Maybe he doesn't believe it, but at least he's saying it, than the Republican, the so-called conservative guy. Most conservative president in my lifetime, right? Donald Trump's statement was, if I were the mayor of a town or the governor of a state and I had a chance to get a big plant, an AI plant or a data center, I would absolutely want it because the jobs are enormous. When money is the only thing you care about and not the value of people, and if money is the only thing that you keep score with and not quality of life or how people, the whole lure of Donald Trump was that he was a money guy that was also blue collar like. That his values were more like regular people. And he's proven that's not the case, it turns out. In any case, this is how you lose the messaging war when people who are the Democrats from Pennsylvania are making more sense.
I've spent a whole lot of time listening to the good people of Pennsylvania, listening to local officials who've been overrun by these predatory developers who have no regard for our communities. I thought it was important to put very, very clear rules of the road that protect our local communities, protect people's utility bills, protect their costs, and make sure that communities are reflective of what the neighbors want, not some outside developer who comes in. My executive order today, I think, is the most stringent requirements in the entire country, and it puts developers on notice. If you want to do business here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, if you want to build an AI data center, you better follow these stringent requirements. Otherwise, you should look somewhere else.
You described some of these companies coming into your state as predatory, bullying, and menacing. Why do you say that?
And secretive. And I stand by all those words. They show up, they buy a piece of land, they wreak havoc on a community, threatening them with the construction of a data center. Yet, Scott, all throughout, they don't actually have an end user. That's one of the tech companies. They have no access to power, but they create real worry and chaos and concern in a community. We're ending that practice now.
Those are the right words. Do I believe him? No, of course not. Guys, he's a politician. He's the governor of a state. People are saying, oh, he's prepping to take a party switch because he's trying to align with the people that are in his state. That might be the case. So what? He's a politician. They lie to us. That's what they do. This is well known. This has been well known for my entire lifetime. That was the default position was lawyers, liars, politicians. They're all the same breed from the time that I was a child. And I'm sure that predates me. It predates many of you. It's just an instinct that we have. They don't tell us the truth. They're not honest human beings. Okay, that was the governor of Pennsylvania saying the right things about data center. You still have to say the right things to be in those roles. Like, that's the job of the role. Here's Governor Greg Abbott. He's my governor. He's saying the right things too. There's just receipts that show that what he's saying is full of shit. I'll show you that in a second. My point to you is the president is actually saying the exact wrong things. That's not 4D chess. That's not 10D chess. That's not 1000D chess. That's just a guy who's utterly out of touch because his value systems are not what regular people's are. And I don't know if it's because they're chronically online or they're surrounded by 34-year-old unwed women, or what gives you the idea that you should be doing the things that you're doing, saying the things you're saying, and the ball washing that goes on. It's gnarly. This is actually a ball washer washing somebody else's balls. This is Benny Johnson. He's going to wash the balls of Greg Abbott, which is awkward because Greg Abbott is in a wheelchair. You can imagine the angle you have to get at to be able to do that. Gross. But here they are saying something, and then we're going to go and we're going to cut right away into the reality check on what he says. Greg Abbott says the state of Texas can now deport people, which is normally a federal authority. Okay? Let's hear it.
I don't think people quite understand that SB 4 in Texas allows you, the Texas government, to deport independently the illegals inside of Texas.
Sure. The strongest law any state's ever passed to protect our border, where, one, we are authorizing every law enforcement officer in the state of Texas to arrest anybody who's crossed the border illegally, and then to deport them back to Mexico. I was going to say deport them where they came from. They've all come from Mexico. And so we have that capability right now. And know this also, and that is, all these laws get subject to legal challenges. We've been all the way up to the Fifth Circuit of the United States Federal Court of Appeals, and they have authorized the state to fully enforce that law at this time.
It's amazing. One final question about what do you do to eliminate the magnets that illegals have? For instance, welfare, free tuition, going to school in the state.
Blah, 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 blah. Does anybody care about this? Yes, Texas State Bill 4 passed the legislature, was signed into law by Greg Abbott in November of 2023. And then it went and got tied up in the courts. He's right. Fifth Circuit. So it was cleared away and it officially went into effect on May 29th. May 29th was, let's see, there was May, and there was June, and there's July. And now we're like 3 months into this. We're coming up on 90 days where this has been into effect, even though it's been the law for 3 years. We're coming up to 90 days where they had an option to do something about it. Greg Abbott is doing PR hits saying the right thing. Texas is going to unilaterally deport people. We're going to carry out the deportation since Donald Trump is not going to do it. How many deportations has the state of Texas done since May 29th of 2026 when that law officially went into effect? Oh, there's no official state issued exact totals. It legally empowers them to do it, but in reality, they're not actually going to do it. And so nobody really thinks that it's actually happening. Rather than Texas executing its own independent deportation, it seems like they're just doing handoffs to ICE, which is what they were doing before, which they could have done at all times. Cooperating with federal officials was always allowed. Maybe less ball washing, maybe more accountability, maybe more saying, hey, guys, you said something. We'd like you to do it. Benny Johnson famously talks about his children and how much he cares about them. His children are going to grow up, I guess, wealthy, so they don't have to worry about the fact that there are now 50-year mortgages and people can't afford to buy housing. Maybe that's good for him. These people all seem like they want to be in charge of the ash pile. As long as ours get some, we're good. I'm going to do kind of a pivot away from this. Again, this is a values problem, and I want to show you something that that kind of blew my mind. And we talked about it the other day. I played you the Daniel Bongino congratulations to Michael Alfonso. I don't have any particular bone to pick with Michael Alfonso other than he's 26, and I don't want 26-year-olds running things. I do want them getting married and having children. I think that's awesome. So good for him for doing that. I just don't think you should be in charge of anything because you're 26. And I've got 20 years of experience on you, and I'm not sure that I'm the right guy to be in charge. And I'm definitely smarter, and I definitely have a lot more life experience, as do many of you. There's a power window in there. I just, if I thought that there was actually a likelihood that we could do any of this stuff, maybe I'd be interested. I just don't think that the system is going to do that. But I did want to show you this, because this is what Wisconsin apparently just did. This is as long as mine are good, then everybody else can go to hell. This is not the way that America has run. This is how you end up in $40 trillion worth of debt. This is how you end up with people saying, I don't care, I'm not going to get an abortion, but I think other people should be able to because I have so much empathy that I'm willing to kill off other people's kids. And I want to make sure it's legal for them. No idea. We've lost family members over this, by the way. We have members of our family that won't speak to my wife and I, even though they've never had an abortion because they want to support the idea of abortion. It's a real contentious bone among certain people in our family. How crazy is that? Michael Alfonso defeated Jesse Eben, Kevin Hardemenig, Donald Rahala, and then some unpronounceable name, Nina Thrifal-Baum, for the Wisconsin 7th Congressional District primary, the Republican primary. That was on August 11th. So that was 9 days ago. They ran in a media attention fixation simply because the incumbent was Tom Tiffany and he decided to run for governor. And the son-in-law of the U.S. Secretary of Transportation was one of the candidates who ended up winning. A couple things I didn't know about this race, which are very, very interesting to me. I did know that he was the son-in-law of Sean Duffy. I didn't know that Dick and Liz Uline had donated $1 million to the PACs that were supporting Alfonso and then his lead follow-up vote getter. I didn't know that. If you don't know about the Ulines, they run Uline. It's a big shipping company. They make supplies and shipping and stuff like that. And they're Republican billionaires that throw a bunch of money behind stuff. $1 million into a primary race that's a safe red seat for their preferred candidate. That's a lot of money for that space. I think it is. For an R plus 11. Alfonso worked in construction and as a podcast producer. He's 26 years old. What I didn't know was who he was running against. And maybe that's interesting to you as well. The guy that he ran against is kind of the kind of people you'd think would be running for office. We're going to go to his campaign website here in just a second. Put this up, and I'm going to show you his campaign ad. I think I grabbed it. Maybe I didn't. Actually, I did not grab his ad. That's okay. We'll go to his campaign website. It's got what we need on there. So here's what you're seeing. His name is Kevin Hermenig. I hope I said that right. This is his Ballotopedia. Has a bachelor's degree in business administration, a master's in business administration from the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. Got them in 2013 and 2021, respectively. So he went to college a little bit later. This is one of the wilder things that I did not know about him. He was one of the hostages. He was a United States Marine for 13 years. And he was one of the hostages who was held by Iran in 1979 for 440 something days. Is that not kind of wild? So this is one of the guys. And yeah, at the end of the day, I get frustrated with people who are older I get frustrated with people who are too old, I think, to hold office. But if the alternative is a 26-year-old or a guy who spent 13 years in the Marine Corps, who started his own financial business, who went to college and got degrees later on in his life as a grown-up, who served as a Marine and was taken hostage by a foreign nation that we're currently at war with, that seems like a pretty interesting experience to bring. And then he ran for school board. And so he's been in local politics. And instead, what you got was a former podcast producer for 1 year and a guy who worked summers in construction, who's the child of he's married to the child of the Secretary of Transportation. And there was $1 million behind that campaign by Republican billionaires. Pretty interesting. This makes you not think that politics is legit. This is why running in any capacity doesn't ever interest me. And that was coming up in 22 and 23 and 24 when people were talking to me. Hey, how come you don't run for office? You seem like you've got a lot of boisterous ideas. It's like, yeah, I do. I also recognize that these aren't real. These elections are just coronations. They're selections. You put a 26-year-old in over a guy that has an entire life of experience and some really relevant ones at this moment in time, right now. Business experience, understands what money does, spent time in the military serving the country, ran for local stuff to try to change things in his own school board. You put in a 26-year-old who married his high school sweetheart that claims he put 60,000 miles on his car like somebody gives a shit. Kind of interesting to see that. And then it just lets you know that you don't get a choice to put the right people in. That's the primary. That was the coronation right there. If you win that primary in an R+11 district, then that's going to be the congressman. So you're going to see another Brandon Gill, who's a nice guy. Just don't think that he should be one of the 535 people that run this country at all. I have zero interest in it. And that's disappointing. It's hard to watch that. How about putting in old people that don't know anything about anything and don't hold any of the policy positions that affect people? We heard Shapiro, governor of PA, tell you he's going to be on the right side of the data center issue. The right side of it is where the people are at. That's the whole point of having an elected representative in theory, isn't it? That the people say something. If 70-something% of people say something, then that's a pretty important thing that you should be probably looking at. So is that where Darlene Graham Nordone, senator, taking over for war boner Lindsey Graham is going to be? No, it turns out no. That's not going to be the case. Because she didn't get put into that space because she's representing the people the best. She represents the government the best and the captured interests that are most interested in continuing the status quo. The people believe one thing, but that doesn't have anything to do with what the voting senators should do. Just the same reason why we have $40 trillion in debt. And Rick Scott is going to tell you, hey, it's bad, guys. It's bad. We're in a bad spot with this. Remember. Don't remember that I voted for it. Just remember that it's bad, okay?
Senator Graham, one of the things I most admire about your campaign is that you try to present yourself as someone who's not a politician. I think all of us here hate politicians who take billions of dollars in super spender money from Silicon Valley. I think we can all agree that we want somebody who works for us and who cares about what we have to say.
I think we all agree on that, yeah.
And so my question for you, because you're so dedicated to representing your constituents, I want to ask you about a donation that you received on August 16th, I believe, or it might have been the 14th. You received a total of $500,000 from a PAC called American Mission PAC. American Mission PAC is a PAC that gets $20 million from, a massive PAC
This
called
microphone
Leading
is
the
awful,
Future.
guys. Sorry, I can't do anything about it.
Leading the Future PAC donates to both Republican and Democratic candidates and is funded by Silicon Valley entrepreneurs and OpenAI. One of their major policy concerns is supporting AI and railing against regulations for it. They heavily support data centers. And at a time where 71% of Americans oppose data centers, I want to ask why, if you're dedicated to representing your constituents, why you took that money. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. First, let's talk about data centers because that's come up multiple times.
Yeah,
obviously,
let's talk about
y'all
it.
are here supporting Mr. Norman, so that's okay. Okay. But anyway, data centers. Are y'all scared of AI? Yes. Do we need to let China take over AI? Is that scary?
We don't need it in our backyards.
Yeah, we don't. And we need community control, community involvement. We need guardrails and regulations in place. That's a perfect answer right there. You know who needs to be in control of data centers? Not the federal government, but communities. So that's the answer to.
Silicon Valley entrepreneurs either.
I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway, thank you.
People who fund your campaign.
Okay. Do you know how PAC contributions work?
Yes.
Okay. So I have no control over the PAC money coming in or how it's spent. So.
Have you spoken about that money? That you don't support the money?
Guys, it's in the debate.
Yeah.
Question.
That's what I've just asked a question to her.
The question. You had for it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to somebody else. I think y'all have had your fair share.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's what we should do. We should definitely get people that don't want to answer the question that say that, do you know how PAC money works? We're going to just lecture kids who are asking a legitimate question. Why are you taking money on something? Why do you think that you can just scare them into talking about AI? Oh, you should be scared. I mean, that is a classic sort of tactic. It's like, do you want the Chinese to be in charge? This is how the communist wins. But it turns out, it seems like she probably doesn't know very much about a lot of this stuff. I'm going to show you one thing that should be disqualifying for anybody that's interested in this lady. And I think it actually ends up being pretty disqualifying. This is Randy Page. I found him yesterday. He previously was working with this organization called Life for South Carolina, which is the Citizens for Life. It's a organization that's pro-life out of South Carolina, specifically for getting pro-life candidates. There's a national right to life, and the South Carolina Citizens for Life PAC proudly endorsing Darlene Graham for the United States Senate. They say she'll provide a strong pro-life voice, stand firmly in defense of the unborn, their mothers, etc., etc. I started off here talking about how abortion seems to be one of those things where you can really draw a red line on people. Randy Page says, this endorsement is ill-advised and inexcusable. Effective immediately, I'm going to resign. And the reason he's resigning because, one, she doesn't have strong pro-life opinions. I'm going to show you this sort of quick interview that was done. And the second thing that's going on is that she gave money. She's only given 2 political donations that anybody can find. And those 2 political donations independently are for a friend in her state Senate who was against a abolition of abortion in South Carolina in the state Senate. It's like $100 here and $100 there. So she's happy to be cozy with people that do pretty gross stuff. Let's do the national security thing where she's threatening the Chinese first, and then we'll go to the pro-life argument in a second. And then I'll show you why I think it doesn't matter, because the Glazers are going to glaze. Here's the first argument on national security. This was a debate that was televised. This should have been the end of her career, by the way.
National security question as well. Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security, but I do support the military. My brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, so I will do everything I can to support the military. My dad was in the Army. I'm not a polished politician up here. National security is not my thing, not my area of expertise, but I do support the military.
Congressman, I'll give you a chance to respond, and I'm sure he recognizes that.
Taiwan's a definite ally, and we have a trading relationship with them that is beneficial to the United States, chips being one of them, and others. So what the president is doing right is he's enabling Taiwan to defend themselves against China. But it's peace through strength that he's showing with Iran that China, Russia, others are looking at it so that they don't want to deal with America, and that's why they haven't attacked Taiwan. If they had some weak Democrat in office like Biden or another Obama, yeah, they'd take it over. But we can't let that happen. We got to take a strong, a peace through strength is working.
Now, listen, I don't know what he just said there, but what I do know is that I do support the military, and my brother was in the military, my dad was in the military, so I always supported the military. Sometimes you guys ask tricky questions about things. I'm not a politician, but I'm trying to be a politician by being a senator. I've been appointed to be a senator to hold a space, and rather than let people who come in who know the answers to questions and have thought about these things for years and want to be involved in it, what I wanted to do was come in and just take up space. And I'm not a politician, so I support the military. Thank you for the question.
I think you're 100% right, Sean. And, I tripped up on one question last night regarding Taiwan. But,
one.
I've said many times, I'm not a politician, certainly not a career politician. I don't speak politician. I was just honest. And I think that's kind of a foreign concept. But
why can't we just let women who don't know what they're talking about just be in charge of things where it matters, okay? Look, she's a lady, okay? And as feminist Republicans, we need to support women being in charge of things, even if they don't know what they're doing. That's how they can. She probably throws ice cubes at home. Why can't we just support that?
Talked to several people today. I traveled around the state, and they said, we appreciated the fact that you were honest. And I did say several times that, China is our enemy, our military and economic threat to the United States. Of course, Taiwan is our friend. But I think people in South Carolina are more worried about making ends meet.
They're actually more worried about whether or not you want to support data centers and whether or not you think that you can hide behind getting $500,000 in money that support data centers, and then you have to hold that position rather than representing what the people there, 70+% of whom don't want data centers in their backyard. Like, well, that's kind of what they want. If only there was like a organization or like a infotainment sort of group that would go out there and cover for you when you make some sort of stupid statements. Luckily, we have Sean Hannity and Jesse Waters. So let me help you here. Sean Hannity's going to carry all this. He's going to ball wash for a woman with no balls. And I don't think you can do ovary washing. So I don't know what you call this.
Yeah. And to be fair, if people want to judge you on the South China Sea and Taiwan, okay, I think that's fair. But I bet, based on all your time with your brother, that you know probably everything about the Middle East, because he went on one trip after another to every country in the Middle East. And I know you know a lot about Europe and the Ukraine-Russia situation, because he went to Ukraine more than any other senator. And you even said in our interview that you were going to focus more on domestic issues than your brother did. I mean, you.
Guys, I don't know if you know this, but if your brother knows something, then you know all the things about it. And if your brother travels somewhere, then you also know all the things about the places he traveled. It makes you knowledgeable, even though he's dead and he's not there to tell you what he learned, because you now know it, because he was there and you were related to him. You guys came from the same uterus. That's causing you to know all the things that he knows. Carry on, Sean. What else you got?
Very clear.
Absolutely. I know national security is important. We have a wonderful commander-in-chief.
And I respect the military. I support the military because national security is important.
I know that we need to stand with the Israel and the issues in Iraq.
We need to stand with the Israel, and we need more maps of the Iraq. Wasn't that the South Carolina girl?
Or serious. I understand all that. But again, I'm focused on the issues for everyday people in South Carolina that are struggling to make ends meet. So that's where I really want to focus. Another concern from the debate I have last night is my opponent said he was going to cut Social Security.
One of the concerns I had is that you said that there are 50 million people that live in South Carolina and there's only like 5. So that's kind of awkward for some of you. I mean, isn't that weird? Listen, if you're not supporting the Israel and you don't recognize that the China is one of the problems, and if you don't say that the commander-in-chief is amazing and that you support the military, then who are you really? Look, she's focusing on the issues that affect people, supporting data centers, even if people are asking her and don't like data centers. And she's pro-life as long as the pro-life thing isn't too complicated or confusing. How pro-life are you? This is like that moment where you see the guy from the Civil War movie where he's wearing the glasses and he's holding the rifle and he says, "What kind of American are you?" Well, what kind of pro-life person are you? Given an opportunity, would you push legislation to really be pro-life? Is that something that Israel agrees with? Maybe we should ask her.
I actually have a question for you, if that's okay. Okay. What do you what is your opinion on abortion? And are you for at conception? Are you for, like, just kind of where you stand on the whole issue?
I support the 6-week South Carolina abortion.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and what about before that? What if they were to do a completely abolition of it?
I don't know. Let me think about it. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, what did the polling say? Because I'm trying to be a politician right now. Is Sean Hannity available? Could he tell me what I think about that? Maybe he could tell me what Lindsay would say about that, because I did know all the things that my brother used to say about that, but I don't. These women are all in the same sort of category, aren't they? They not fall into this sort of, the Republican Party has lost its way so dramatically that we have, one, women in leadership and trying to move into these places, and then two, their focus is not what women has been. There's nothing conservative about the Republican Party right now. That is the most unconservative thing I've ever heard. I support what we have right now because we have it right now, but you're actually not pro-life. And the National Right to Life is going to back you because there's a ton of money to back people. This is one of the reasons probably why I look at all these national organizations and I can't get along with any of them, because they're all willing to sell out and compromise. It's one of the things I liked about Mike Howell, which is that he says, people understand that when you make a promise, regular people think you're going to stick to it, or you're going to try to at least. Or you could just make fun of the opponents. Here's Fox News doing serious news. Hakeem Jeffries hooker problem. I'm not even kidding to you. This is a real thing right now.
Hakeem has a lot of hookers in his district. There's so many Johns lined up for a piece of the action. Google Maps says there's a traffic jam. Now, AOC had the same problem. Her home turf was packed with prostitutes last year. Neighbors called it a red light district. Out west, watch where you walk. Seattle's got needles everywhere. A group of moms didn't want their kids playing in a minefield of paraphernalia, so they cleaned it up themselves. How'd the city thank them? With an investigation.
Guys, Democrats are trying to do crazy stuff.
Kamikaze dolphins.
They got kamikaze dolphins.
Fox News alert, we just got the backpack.
We got the backpack. There's a hooker problem in Hakeem's. I'm kind of at a loss for words that there's a whole industry of people that just sell this bullshit. But there is. One more time.
Hakeem has a lot of hookers.
That may go into the soundboard too. And by the way, I don't know if I'm actually pro-life. I have to go see what the polling says on that. And by the way, don't you think that we should be in charge of data centers because Chinese? We have to support the Israel. It's actually maddening to see this kind of stuff. You guys want some good news as we kind of like wrap it up here? Here's some good news. Grand juries might be the last bit of American sanity. A Clermont County man faced felony vandalism charges for destroying flock cameras, allegedly, in the Union Township. And his case has been dismissed. The guy's name is Cody Morlock. He was accused of damaging flock camera systems located at Mart Carmel, Tabasco Road. I like that. Near Glenrose Lane, June 13th, according to the Union Township Police Department. The investigators claimed he removed the bolts holding the equipment, causing the camera, the solar panels, and the support pole to fall, and then he destroyed them. I assume he kicked them. The police said they had footage from other nearby cameras that helped identify him as a suspect. The flock cameras are leased by the Union Township Police Department. They caused a significant amount of damage. A Clermont County grand jury ultimately declined to indict him on the felony charges. Just a dude with a beard, smashing a flock camera, which was destroying people's sense of privacy, offering a public-private partnership so the government can spy on you at all times and do AI stuff. The reason for some of these data centers, the surveillance state, which, yeah, we've had for a long time, but it certainly doesn't help to increase it. How interesting. The grand jury was like, I don't think so. I think we're going to go ahead and let this guy slide. He's representing a popular opinion that we don't feel was a felony. So this is called, oftentimes it's called jury nullification. This would be grand jury nullification, where the charge is legit and there may be plenty of information, but they decided to vote against it. They said, yeah, we're not on board. We will not indict. No true bill. maybe that's the only good news, is that people are getting fed up with it and they're going to end up having to do things that are fairly extraordinary. They'll say, even though it's probably obvious that this person may have committed this crime, we're just not going to hold them account because we don't like it. Yeah, I don't hate that. All right. That's where we're going to wrap up for the day. Guys, support our sponsors if you would. You can go and find the link below. It says it'll take you to kyleseraphin.com. Incidentally, if you're interested in being part of the program, you can call in tonight for our call-in show. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 7 p.m. Central Time. You've got to be a member of the channel over on YouTube, which you guys can sign up for. It's $5 a month. You could be a member over on X. You get the same deal. Phone number is going to be the same for all the month of August. Or you could be a member on our locals, which was having problems earlier, but sounds like it's actually working okay today. So if you want to be a member on those places, let's freaking go. If you want to scan the QR code, if it's on your screen right now, then you guys can actually take direct link to all of our sponsors, all the people that keep us in business. And I do have something funny to kind of end the day on. It was kind of a darker show. So since we're talking about spouses, keeping track of your spouse, women, you have to keep track of us. We have to keep track of you. That's our job. One of our jobs as men who are married is to explain the movie to you, even though we haven't seen it either. All of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been doing this actually long before I became a husband. I was actually doing this for my mother. My mother is the worst watcher of every movie that's ever happened, including movies she's already seen because she already forgot them. I've had to explain every movie that I've ever watched with my mother, and now my children get the benefit of being able to explain the movies to their grandmother. It's a really fun game. Men, you know what I'm talking about. So just women, this is what it feels like to watch a movie with you sometimes.
What's going on?
I don't know. It's just like the opening title card. No, just watch. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know.
Who's that guy? Who do you think he is?
I have no idea. It's been going on for 10 seconds.
Okay.
Just watch.
Who's this? Who do you think she is?
I no clue. Just watch. I don't know who she is. We're finding out.
Okay. Do you think those guys know each other?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they know each other. I have no idea. We're 30 seconds in. Just try and watch the movie.
Why do you think she's watching them like that?
I don't know. I mean, we're gonna find out why she's. But right now I don't know. I know as much as you are.
Too much.
We watched the same movie so far.
Where do you think she's driving to? What's going on? Why?
I don't know where she's driving to. Just try and just watch the movie.
Okay.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Why is she watching them like that? Who's that guy with her?
I don't know who that guy is. The movie's been going for a minute. Just try and watch and follow, and we'll find out.
It's pretty accurate too. It is actually a minute.
What's he doing? What is that thing?
I think he's making a bomb. I think maybe he's making a bomb.
Okay. Why are they making a bomb?
Because it's
Ireland in 1974. Same reason that Brian Cole Jr. was making a bomb. It's the Troubles. That's what happens. By the way, I've seen this movie. My wife and I watched it together. My wife, by the way, doesn't do any of these things. She's actually awesome. She's quiet, and then she stops watching the movie, and then she just goes to sleep while the movie's on. And then when she wakes up, she was like, "You watched it without me?" And I go, "Yeah, because you didn't care." And she goes, "You're right. I didn't care at all. That's why I went to sleep." Guys, we've all had that experience. Ladies, it's hard watching a movie with you. Just let it happen in front of you. But it is our job to kind of keep you straight there. Just like it's your job to kind of keep us softer, more gentle. Maybe when we've gone over the line and we're deciding to, like, I don't know, rip the throat out of the mailman because he's late with a package. That's your job to kind of tame us. Our job is to kind of keep you when you're doing that stuff. It's very important. We need each other. Turns out, I wish we could get that on a national level. Do it in your own house. That's the best we can do. God bless you guys. Thanks for watching. Look forward to hearing from you this evening, whatever you guys think. And 20 trillion. We did it. Hooray. See you tonight.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.